Hey y'all, hey, it's another episode of Bonafide Her Podcast featuring the one and only Kaylee Sticker.
Nice intro. I don't deserve that intro.
Yeah, you do. Girl, I'm going to give you your flowers. Give yourself some flowers, girl, because you did that. You are you. So
Period.
how you doing, girl?
Good. Happy to be here. I'm so excited that you asked me to do this at the Queen's Retreat.
Yes, girl. I had to. Girl, that's like, I love your content. I was like, I got to have her. Like, she's that girl. So
Definitely. You know I'm here for it.
So let's get it started. So, Kaylee, can you explain how you got to where you are through your sports journey?
Yeah. So I figured out that I want to play basketball pretty seriously around 8th grade. Did the whole recruiting process in high school. Went to Clemson University straight out of high school for 2 years. Just decided that I didn't want to be there anymore. And so I transferred to Samford University, where I didn't actually play. I tore my knee. I tore ACL, PCL, LCL. I had a case of drop foot, all this stuff going on. Then decided D2 basketball was more my speed. And I just recently graduated from the University of North Georgia with a business degree. And here I am navigating life post basketball.
Girl. So, like, you got to tell me, like, what was the transition like from all the different schools? Like, what would you say is first of all, the transition? Like, what was that like from going from, like, say, the ACC D1 to, like, the SoCon to D2? And what would you say is the misconceptions about, like, transferring to different colleges?
Yeah, it's not fun. You make best friends, and then a year later you leave. And some of them were like necessary that I had to leave. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, deep down I know I need to make this transition. But it's hard just getting adapted to different cultures, and each team has their own, vibe and the stuff that you have to figure out, and nevertheless, like the playbook and all that. But it was interesting. I also feel as if though it made me who I am, if that makes sense. Like it helped me learn a lot about myself in that process. It gave me a lot of opportunity for content, which was really nice, but it's definitely not talked about, those transitions between schools as much, and how mentally hard that can be. But yeah, no, I mean, we made it out alive. So transfer portal.
So what would you say? Do you feel like the transport portal, like, in ways kind of has its blessing and curse ways?
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the times I transferred was during COVID, and so I wasn't able to go visit the school that I was committing to, and so that kind of altered that process a little bit. But I think the transfer portal can be a really beneficial thing, like as if you are getting better anything at another school. I mean, why would you not do that? I don't know. I like it, but then I think there's a lot more people transferring than there used to be, so that's also like a negative thing. It's interesting.
Girl, because like, it's so different. Transferring is so different, like hearing the stories, especially. So, like, when I was in college, like, when a person transferred, they had to sit out a whole year, like,
Right.
registered. And now it's like years later, like, well, unless you were a graduate student, like if you transferred, you were playing right away. So, like, but now, like, transferring, like, you can transfer and you could play right away. But I think a lot of people, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people criticize folks that transfer, but they never know, like, the real reason behind why that person transferred.
No, I mean, I completely agree with that.
Especially, like, it could be multiple reasons, like, say, be close to home, be family, or maybe something happened and they couldn't fit in the system. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, that was one of the reasons that I, struggled at Clemson my first year, because I was extremely homesick. I was like, didn't even know I could be that homesick. Eventually got over it, but I do think it altered my first year there, because instead of going to pickup, I was going home. And so I missed out on a lot of those bonding activities and stuff with the team that I wish I could go back and change. But people don't know that. Like, people don't know the struggles that, athletes are facing, whether it be internally, physically. It's crazy.
And girl, first of all, shout out to you for being named a game changer. So,
oh, thank you.
Yes. What was that like to be selected as a game changer, and what did it mean to you?
Yeah, no, I was So I saw Jenna put out a notice for the program way back, I want to say in like October or something. And so I submitted my application, was really excited about it, and then found out fairly recently that I got chose to be one of those game changers. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to stuff that we're going to learn. But yeah, we're just getting into it right now. So it's been good.
Do you feel like in ways it helped you like continue to create your brand, and like how would you describe your brand?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something that's gonna, help build my brand. I think most importantly, it builds connection, with these people who are where I want to be. And so I'm thankful for that. But I would describe my brand all over the place right now. But I try to incorporate basketball still, postgraduate life. But I would say I have a comedic piece to it, a lifestyle. I try to create relatable content. And honestly, I post what I want. And that's like kind of an unpopular opinion. Like people are posting to please, and I just kind of post what I like. And if it does well, it does well. If it doesn't, great. I still like it. It doesn't matter,
Yes, because girl, you gotta post what you feel like is you. So
right.
So my question is too, because I was like, because when I was like, when I saw you being announced on the Queen's Retreat, I was like, oh my God, I remember seeing her content. It's so amazing. And then like when I got to Queen's Retreat, I was like just looking around, we at the vineyard, and I was like, wait, she approaching to me? She's like, hey, I was like, how she know who I was? I was like,
Sam was hyping you up. I had to come say hi.
Girl, I was like almost fangirl. I was like, okay, I'm a girl's girl, but I was like, oh my God, yes. But what was so with AthleteCon and Queen's Retreat? Like, how impactful was it for you to continue to learn about creating content, but also be a speaker at the Queen's Retreat? And do you feel like it will like help amplify and your content as well as both on and off the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Sam and I are good friends. And I wanted to help a girl out, and she brings so much to the table for me. It's honestly like a great partnership. But I was very thankful to talk. I think that can be good because I feel like I have decent experience with like the whole TikTok thing and stuff like that. But it helps me communicate, and it gives me these like brand building skills that I can carry on. And maybe it's just like for practice. Like I go talk to you guys who I'm comfortable talking to, and then it's a lot easier to talk to people on my platform or stuff like that. And so that's why I was really appreciative and glad I got to have that opportunity.
Girl, yes. I was like, let me learn this. And then you got a chance to speak with the Duke women's basketball. What was that like to be able to do that?
Yeah, that was awesome. Sam put together a little presentation, and so she's got like a PowerPoint and stuff that she runs through, and she let me like highlight stuff that I knew a little bit more about, you know what I'm saying? And so I had a little bit more expertise in. And it was like, I'm like talking to these girls, and I'm like, they're not going to listen to me. And then afterwards, some of them are coming up, and they're like, hey, like, how did you do that? Like, do you really mean that? Like, how did you do that? Like, that's so cool. Like, is that really how that works? And I'm like, you guys are actually listening to me. Like, this is so cool. But it was nice. It was very nice. It was a good experience, like I said.
Yes, Carol. Because I was like, wait, Duke women's basketball, especially is they're one of those, like, say, so far in collegiate basketball, they've been like a caliber team now. So, But my question for you is, when it comes to women's sports, how important is representation both on and off the court?
Yeah, I mean, it's super important. I think these days it's getting a lot more light than it used to. But I think just having, the good background, a good, what is the word I'm looking for? Reputation of women's sports is like what's going to take it far. You know what I'm saying? And all these days, like Caitlin Clark's and like all these big people are, doing that for us, which is awesome.
Do you hope to see it continue to grow in like whether it's viewership, the support, like everything?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And what are some ways like how people can be able to like say just continue that support and just viewership with everything, especially like where some of the streaming service now these days is so all over the place. So
yeah, no, I'm a girl's girl, and so I, the girls that I have my back, I have theirs. I'm commenting on their stuff. I'm reposting it. I love to see women in sports. I love to see some of my friends doing like these big things, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's insane. Like good for you. And like just showing that support through this process, and like I said earlier, building those connections in this kind of business, super important.
And how, with networking and connections, how important would you say those two key things are when it comes to, when that, like everything?
Everything. It's everything. A non-sports related thing. I just talked about my internship a little bit. I wouldn't have that without networking and connections. It's and then not like it's taken me, like I got to go to Philadelphia because of networking connections for a PLL championship. I got to go, to watch the SEC championship because of networking connections. And it's all about like creating those decent relationships to where you're not asking for people for things, but you're like working with them and you're giving them something, they're giving you something, and it's business, but really important.
For sure, because connection, just like you said, connections can build relationships, and especially like say you work the hardest and then like you want to do something and then it's like, oh, someone that goes in it, so it's like
right,
they can give you like a good word, but like, hey, I know this person, like they can help you and all that stuff. So
100%.
So what's it with the Queen's Retreat too, what's it like to be able to build those relationships with all the girls, like just everything? And do you like, especially you got to come to the athlete con that's coming in the
summer. I gotta be there. I know. I gotta put it on my calendar, but I mean, I can't even put words to it. Like the girls that I meet, I don't even know these girls, and I meet like, for example, Sydney that we met, who graduated from Cornell. Like what? She's so smart. And then you have like all these other people with different personalities, but we all come together because we all want to do the same thing. It's so awesome. And girls that I met like there and at, different networking events and stuff like that, like they're just decent people, and shout out to Sam for bringing in such a good group of girls. Everybody's, in a good hearted like mood. Like it's so nice.
Girl. Shout out to Sam.
And shout out to Sam, because there was a bunch of times where I found myself walking over to some girls and I was like, hey, like, do you know how to do this? Or like, help me do this. Or like, what's Instagram trial? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like nice that I can learn too. And, and I was there kind of helping more on the business side of it, but it was so cool.
So my question for you is, what was the transition like? We were just talking a little bit about it before we came. So like, what's the transition like going from like, say, playing the sport to like real life in the business corporation world now?
They have its like similarities. It's different. You don't have a team full of 15 other girls that have your back every single day. Thankfully, the people I work with, they're awesome. But I would say being an athlete, I've noticed like day-to-day tasks and stuff, it's a lot easier for me to like learn fast, to get the hang of something super fast. You know what I'm saying? And so I take those basketball-like abilities, skill-like abilities, you know what I'm saying? And not like dribbling, but like the multitasking, the thinking and stuff like that shows up in my day-to-day now that I'm working. And it's still like I'm part of the team, but I don't have 15 other best friends. So it's different, but it's been nice so far. Basketball's definitely helped.
Girl, yes, it's that orange ball blessing that becoming.
Orange ball blessing. That's a good way to put it.
So what advice would you give to someone that's like, that's in that transition season now that you are going through?
Yeah, it's not easy. Like I was super sad when basketball ended, because it's, you're not playing basketball for the first time in 23 years. I would say my advice would just be like, to filter through those emotions. Like it is okay, because you are letting go of a big piece of something, but you don't necessarily have to let go of it. Like I'll still make content with the basketball. I'll still go, play around with my friends and stuff. But I would just say use the team building skills that you have, and everything that you've carried, like the respect you have for your coaches and stuff. Just carry that on to your boss, to your coworkers, stuff like that. Like honestly, and like the passion too, like having that drive to wake up and play basketball every day, take that and put it into whatever your passion is after basketball. That's what I do for content creation. Like instead of waking up and like going to get in like, some sprints, I'm waking up and I'm trying to get my content in like that.
Yes, girl. Cause I was just saying, I was like, when you had like those, it's like the basketball terms and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you remember it's like, oh, they were talking about lunch. So
yeah. So the funny story about that, my boss did not say that. I was driving to work one day and I was just talking into my phone and I was like, well, let me spitball some ideas of like good content where I can cross over basketball and content creation. And so I was like, lunch, work, clock in, signature, like sign on the line, like conditioning. Like I just started spitting on all these, like literally like brainstorming. When I, the next day I went back to my list, I looked at it and I came up with a caption, and that video thankfully did very well. Just taking the time to put effort into it. It's really all that is.
And it's like, hey, lock in, and you're like, oh, they meant lock in.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, we're not on the court anymore. Hang on, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. It's like one of those moments, like, oh my gosh, it's like those PTSD moments almost.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Tell me about it.
It's like the conditioning. It's like, oh, like just running up and down.
I do not miss that. Yeah.
Girl, what I tell you, I've seen people like, I remember in college, I remember seeing a team that I was managing, like they had to run up and down 22 times. Like one up and like, like it was 22 times because of the 22 turnovers. So they had to go up and down. So they had to go up and then come back down like within like a second. And I'm like, I'm not even running, but my eyes feel like they're running. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Whoo. And it's just like, bless y'all's heart, because I'm gonna run. I'll run and then probably just like walk back a little bit, jog. It's like I did all I could do on one side, but I'm gonna just jog the rest of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So my question for you is like, especially like for athletes that want to get into content creating, what advice would you give to them, especially if they want to, get into the NIL space?
I mean, yeah, I think there's a ton of different advice you could give somebody trying to get into the NIL content creation, like these freshmen and stuff. But I can't speak on all of it. What worked for me is I jumped on trends. I thrive in trending audios, and whether that be with a basketball or lip syncing, whatever it is, like I just think that's a fast way to hit the algorithm. Boom, boom, boom. And you keep doing that, and then you see your follower increase. You see brands start to come in. I've always said, trending audios is the way to do it. But there's a lot of different ways to do it. Like, for example, Sam is more business minded. You have girls who make day in the lives, get readies with me. I personally don't make content like that. I know my strength. I'm not really good at the speaking part of it. So there's definitely a ton of different ways you can go about it, which is nice. But I'd say find what you're passionate about. Like I said, post videos that you like, and not for other people.
What was that one video that, that was like the turning point that went viral? Like, yo, just like, man, like then you saw like more people just following you and stuff.
I want to say one of my first like 3 videos that I ever posted on TikTok. One of them was on a moped, and it blew up. And I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of fun. Like, why are people liking my video? Like, don't put your happiness in that, but like, dang, it is kind of nice. I would say, honestly, when I got to Clemson and started using a basketball with my uniform that said Clemson and like doing trending audios and making it somewhat aesthetic, people they eat that up for some reason. You know what I'm saying?
Girl,
I don't know if it was like a specific video. I think I went through like a little period.
Girl, when I tell you media days for basketball be just eating it up, just slaying, like.
Yeah, they're nice. I will say, at some point in the past 4 years, I found out that if I throw a basketball backwards while lip syncing to a song, that is like people's favorite thing. And so I started like a little mini series of like, okay, let's just throw a basketball backwards to a different song every day. And I didn't have a video that didn't do well when I posted that. And so like finding what worked and sticking to it is a great way to thrive on TikTok or something like that.
Are you talking about like when you throw a basketball, like whether it's half court or in the free throw line, and you just?
Yeah, so most of the time you'd be around half court. Yeah.
Kudos to you, because
the funny thing is, I'd either be in there for like a second to be like first try, boom, done, out of the gym, or I'd be in there for an hour and a half. And I remember this one time I had my AD like standing there, like my athletic director standing there watching me and being like, all right, Stick, like you put the work in, like go get your TikTok. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. But like, you got to do what you got to do.
Girl, don't you ever feel like, Don't you ever feel like there's a difference? Like, so, like, say when you're at the Queen's Retreat, like you feel so comfortable making like content
That
and
needs to be talked about more. I know
like
exactly what you mean.
like and then like you feel so comfortable talking like doing the trends and doing TikToks because all the other girls are doing TikToks and just being themselves, and then versus like you somewhere like in the normal place or in the gym and then people are like looking at you like, what are you
No,
doing?
literally between Queen's Retreat and like I went to a few like brand events and NIL Summit, like it's so normalized. And it's like, oh, I don't feel like I'm making enough content. But then you like go out on the street and it's like, ugh, But like these days I don't really care, but I used to. Which
Cause low key, like I would be like in the gym, and I'd be the only girl in the gym just playing basketball, and then like hopefully I get the gym to myself because I'm
yeah.
like I don't want other people
I
come
used to
in,
go at night and stuff, yeah.
and then like I can just make just really quick TikToks and just like I'm gonna just just do something, just dance and stuff, and then just shoot and just like
Right.
just, and then because I was trying to do that, and then somebody looked at like, are you making the TikTok?
Yeah.
Like yeah, like.
Well, now it's like, oh, teach me how to make a TikTok, They're like asking for help instead of making fun of you.
Girl, it be like that, but it's like, you know what? I'm just having fun. But I'm a beauty, but we can beast it out. Boom. So my question for you is, what was you mentioned about the NIL summit. What was that like attending the NIL summit?
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. This is my first year going. It was honestly just like 3 days of that wasn't so much content creation based. I feel like Sam's is like you're getting more content. NIL Summit was more like informational, if that makes sense. We learned a lot about like NCAA stuff. We learned a lot about taxes and like all kinds of that. So that would be like a great event, I would say, if you're still in college. I went like after I graduated, and I thought it was still very helpful. But there were some seminars that like just directly correlated to current athletes and stuff, which is that's what it's for, honestly. So kudos to them. But it was a really cool experience.
So more like informational, like just seminars and like just
Yeah, they had a lot, and then they do have an area where they have a bunch of booths set up with brands that you can go talk to. I remember like athletes.org being there, like passes and stuff, which was really cool because then you got to face to face with these brands. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember athletes org, they were at the athlete con and like learning about it is like, yo, they really about their athletes like standing up for
Oh yeah,
them.
I don't know much about them, but
But my question for you is like, and usually I've asked my guests about this because I always say my most important thing is I always say athletes are human first because I always want to remind people like athletes are human first. They have feelings and everything. And like they have the hardest schedule when going from college to even professional. But for you, how important is mental health to you?
yeah, it's super important. I went through like a year and a half where I had some really bad mental health with my injury, and it's hard. But like I said, you just learn a lot about yourself during a period like that, which is nice.
Was there like during that time, was there a period where you had to like figure out like what am I without my sport at the time? Like how do I what am
Yeah,
I
100%. Like getting taken out. I mean, I had to have surgery 4 days, like emergent surgery 4 days later. Like it was kind of a big deal. And I just remember there was no basketball for like the first 5 months. Like it was strictly just rehab to make sure that I could walk again, to make sure that I could move my foot again. Like, and you take basketball out of it, and it's like, what? But this isn't worth it. Why am I playing basketball if this kind of thing can happen? Or like, what am I working back towards? It's a lot that you navigate in your head. Um, but then you find your purpose and your passion back through that process. It's just like, oh, you know what, I do want to keep playing basketball. Like, let me go show this doctor who just told me that I'm not going to be the same, that I can play in a game again. And these doctors are saying like, oh, we hope we can get you back to playing in a basketball game. And I'm like, what? Like, that's a possibility. And so just the fact that I got to go back and do that was all I needed in my head. But it is hard.
Yeah, because like especially like I've heard like say sometimes when you're dealing with the injury, like it can also take a toll on your mental health. Like it's like when am I going to play again? Like, how do you like, is there a
Yeah,
way?
absolutely. Yeah, and then especially just repetitive. Like I had rehab for, not like I wish I was exaggerating, 3 hours, 5 days a week. Like it gets repetitive, and that's when you have to be like, okay, this is why I'm doing this. You have to find your why, and you have to realize what you're doing it for, and it's something bigger than yourself. And like, it's hard, and that's not easy. Like that stuff doesn't come easy, but it's definitely worth it.
Girl, because I remember, like, what was it called? There was that we did there was that podcast session at the Queen Jury Retreat, and you're like, I'm sorry for taking your question. I'm like, girl, you good? I'm iron sharpens iron. I was like,
I did take your question. I remember that.
I was
Yeah,
like,
I don't even know what it was. I wish I could tell you.
it was like the one where, because you and Sam were talking about like the wags, like the wives and girlfriends. Like,
Yeah.
like does like mental health and politics get involved, like especially with like y'all being the wives and girlfriends and during that time of that period and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely more of the same question. Yeah, but that was fun.
Yeah, because girl, I was like, hey.
I'm not the wag. Yeah, I'm not. Look at me. I'm not a wag. No. That's funny.
So my question for you is like, how would you describe your journey?
Um, I don't. It's hard. Like, there's no picture or phrase that really captures that for me. It's definitely been a. I mean, unless you want to say like roller coaster, but it's been a. I like. I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. Like, it's been wild.
So like, wow, like just you say a roller coaster, just like almost like a maze and just like,
Yeah, figuring it out, being at different schools, meeting different people. But I, that's the thing though. Like that's the constant, is having people that you trust, that you love, that can take you through something like that. And I could list them off. Like I have those people in my life, and I'm so thankful for them. But that's just like a great thing to have when you're going through a wild, crazy journey like that. You know what I'm saying? You have those rocks, like those, and they may not be there for like a long time. Like my physical therapist was one of them. And it's like, this is somebody who's not in my life forever, but like, was that in my life at the perfect time when I needed him? You know what I'm saying? And so like stuff like that is really what got me through that collegiate journey.
girl, you better reckon. Where my fan at? I'm gonna put my fan. Yes, let them know some fan effects. Like, let them know, because you were just saying, there's always that period of time where those right people come in, and then it's like that season change. Some people stay in this for a season, some people stay there for a lifetime. So,
that is so true.
So I always ask my guests this question because, Bonafide means authentic and unique. What makes Kaylee Sticker Bonafide, and what makes your story just stands out?
That's a great question. I don't know. You can't. I can talk about other people all day long. When you start asking me about myself, let's see. What makes me unique? Like, you want me as a person, or like me as a content creator? What are you thinking?
Girl, anything overall, who you are, because girl, you got a heart of gold.
Yeah. Speaking of heart, no, I would just say that I'm a big. I'm big loving with, like, I love with my whole heart. And you know what I'm saying? And when I'm passionate about something, whether that be basketball, content creation, relationships, I do it with my whole heart, and I take pride in that. It's just something that I've always been a stan of.
Girl, you better let them know. I'm telling y'all, like, girl, you better let them know. Like, give yourself your flowers, because you know how, like, you got to always remember to give yourself flowers, because you're doing so many things that not a lot of people are doing, but also people that wish they could do. But it's like it's like you living out one of your answered prayers.
Right. No, I'm trying to.
Girl, you ain't got to try. You doing it. So you got this. So I always call this the shameless plug, where, I always want people to support the real ones. So such as yourself. So where people can follow you and support you if there's any upcoming events coming up for you?
How can they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I try to stay pretty up to date. My Snapchat's like what I post probably the most on, just consistently every day. That's more like personal. I try to post my big events on Instagram, and then TikTok. Who even knows? But yeah, I would say follow my socials. Keep up with that. I'm in my DMs all the time. Like I love reading my DMs, and so like I'm replying to people. Some of them are like cringe, and then some of them are like people who are asking for advice, and so that's why I like to be in there and help people out.
So like, where they could follow you at? Like, is there like where they could follow you at?
What do you mean?
Like your Instagram name, like where they could follow you.
Like, what is my Instagram handle?
Yeah, so where they
at Kaylee Sticker, but the E in stickers are 3, so it's like Kaylee Stick 3R.
Girl, I used to do the 3s as an E back in the day.
Well, let me tell you, somebody has the username Kaylee Sticker. I'm like, why? That's not why. Like, let me have it. So I had to change something, and 3 was my best phone number. So,
girl, that's my number 2.
yeah.
Hey, it's something about the 3 that just be like. Shout out to Miss Kaylee Sticker for coming in and sharing your story, and shout out to all the people that came on to, show love and watching this episode. Yes, this is a raw and real. I'm gonna have some little bloopers, but this is what be happening. So, so thank you guys for tuning in to Bonafide Her podcast episode 108, and be sure to check out the live replay after this. Thank you guys. Peace.